The morning sky above the city was clear, but the students of Northbridge High School felt a strange energy in the air. Everyone had heard the rumors. Today was not going to be an ordinary school day. Today, the daughter of the alien ambassador was going to join them. The buses dropped students at the gate. Laughter and chatter filled the campus, but under that noise, a heavy silence was hiding. No one knew what she would look like or how she would act. Would she be dangerous or friendly? Would she even speak like humans? Teachers stood at the entrance, their faces calm but their eyes nervous. The school had received orders from the government. Treat her like a normal student, they said. But everyone knew she was not normal. She came from another world. Her father was the official ambassador from the Galactic Union. Her presence was more than cultural exchange. It was a test of trust. Then the car arrived. It was not a normal car. It was black, sleek, armored with strange symbols glowing faintly on its sides. The doors opened slowly, and for a moment, the whole school held its breath. She stepped out, tall and graceful, her skin pale with a faint shimmer. Her eyes glowed softly, like twin crystals, catching the morning sun. She wore the school's uniform, but it seemed different on her, almost like it resisted blending into her alien presence. A heavy silence spread as students stopped mid-sentence, their phones forgotten. Whispers began. She looks human, but not really. Her eyes. Did you see her eyes? Why is she here in our school? The girl walked forward with calm steps, her face expressionless. She looked at no one directly, but everyone felt her gaze. Some students stepped back as if her presence carried invisible weight. Others leaned forward, curious, drawn to the unknown. Inside the principal's office, she introduced herself. Her voice was soft, musical, but every word clear. "My name is Lyra," she said. "Daughter of Ambassador Kalen." The teachers nodded politely. Though their hearts raced, there was something in her voice, not threatening, not warm, just powerful. Soon, Lyra entered her first classroom. The students had already taken their seats, but the moment she walked in, silence swallowed the room. Her desk was near the window, sunlight framing her figure like she carried her own aura. She sat down quietly, folding her hands, watching the human students with calm curiosity. The teacher tried to continue the lesson, but her voice trembled. Every student's attention was not on the board, but on the alien girl sitting among them. One boy whispered to his friend, "Do you think she eats like us?" Another girl whispered back, "What if she reads our thoughts?" Lyra heard them, though she gave no sign. In her mind, she remembered her father's words. "Earth is fragile, my daughter. Their young are proud but uncertain. You must walk carefully, for one wrong step will shatter trust." Suddenly, the classroom lights flickered. A faint hum filled the air, as if the building itself reacted to her presence. The teacher stopped mid-sentence, eyes darting to Lyra. The students froze, tension tightening their throats. But just as quickly, the lights returned to normal, and Lyra looked down at her notebook. She had not moved. But everyone suspected something. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed louder than ever. Lyra entered with her tray, but instead of human food, her tray held sealed containers marked with glowing alien script. No one dared sit near her, except one boy. He walked forward nervously, holding his tray tight. His name was Ethan. He sat down and gave a small smile. "Hi. Welcome to Northbridge High," he said. Lyra looked at him, her crystal eyes studying his face. After a pause, she gave a small nod. "Thank you," she replied, her voice like soft music. The cafeteria fell into whispers again. Ethan talked to her. Is he crazy? Maybe he's brave. Outside the school, a figure stood watching from the shadows. A man in a dark coat, his eyes hidden by glasses. He spoke quietly into a communicator. "She has arrived," he said. "The daughter of the ambassador is..." Inside the human school, on the other end, a distorted voice answered, "Keep watching. We cannot let her mission succeed." Back inside, Lyra lifted her gaze toward the window. Her glowing eyes narrowed slightly. She felt something, danger, was near. Her first day on Earth was only beginning, but already, the shadows had started moving. Asterisk. The bell rang loudly through the halls, and students rushed from one class to another. Lyra, the daughter of the alien ambassador, moved with calm steps, as if she did not hear the noise around her. Her long hair shimmered faintly under the fluorescent lights, her crystal eyes scanning the human crowd without fear. But the humans felt uneasy. They were not used to walking beside someone who carried the weight of another world. Her next class was science, a subject she already knew far beyond human knowledge. Still, her father had told her to blend in, learn as they learn. Had said, "Do not reveal too much, Earth must grow in its own time." Inside the classroom, the students were already seated, whispering excitedly. "She's coming here," one girl muttered. "Do you think she'll sit near us?" Another asked nervously. The door opened and silence fell again. Lyra stepped in slowly, her expression calm, but her presence made the air feel heavier. The teacher, Mrs. Reynolds, cleared her throat nervously. "Class, this is Lyra. She will be joining us for the rest of the year," she said. Lyra gave a polite nod, her voice soft but steady. "Thank you for having me." Some students looked away quickly, unable to meet her glowing gaze. Others stared openly, curious and afraid at the same time. The only empty seat was beside Ethan, the boy who had spoken to her at lunch. Lyra walked to the desk and sat down quietly. Ethan's heart raced, but he managed a small smile. "Hey," he whispered, "I didn't think you'd sit next to me again." Lyra tilted her head, studying him as if he were a puzzle. "Why not?" she asked softly. Ethan shrugged. "Most people seem too scared to talk to you." Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly. "Fear often hides curiosity," she said, then turned her gaze back to the board. Mrs. Reynolds began the lesson, writing equations about gravity and planetary motion. Lyra listened politely, though her mind whispered corrections on her world. Gravity was not just a force. It was a field of threads she could almost see and feel. Still, she kept silent, pretending to take notes like the others. But then, a boy from the back of the class raised his hand. "Mrs. Reynolds," he said, with a smirk, "why don't we ask our guest if she knows the answer?" The room tensed. The boy's name was Derek, known for mocking others to gain attention. Mrs. Reynolds hesitated. "That's not." But Lyra spoke calmly, her voice smooth. "You wish to test me," she said, not unkindly. Derek smirked. "All right then, tell us, if two planets of different masses fall toward the same star, which one hits first?" The class turned toward her, waiting. Lyra paused for a moment, her glowing eyes calm. "Neither," she said, her voice clear. "They fall together, for gravity does not favor size, only distance." Mrs. Reynolds blinked in surprise. "That is correct," she admitted. Derek's smirk faded, but before he could speak, Lyra added, "On my world, we learn this when we are small children." A wave of whispers spread across the classroom. "She's so smart. She's showing off. Did you hear how she said that?" Ethan looked at her with wide eyes, amazed not just by her knowledge, but by the calm strength in her voice. But Derek clenched his fists under the desk, jealousy burning in his chest. No one had ever made him look so small before. After class, Ethan and Lyra walked through the hallway together. Other students moved aside as they passed, like a river parting around stones. "Do you always know the answers like that?" Ethan asked quietly. Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Knowledge is a responsibility," she said, "not a weapon, but sometimes humans use it to wound each other." Ethan hesitated, then laughed nervously. "You sound like one of those wise characters from the movies." For the first time, Lyra gave the smallest smile. Her alien features softened, and Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. But the moment was broken when a group of older students stepped in front of them, blocking the hallway. It was Derek again, with two of his friends. Well, Derek said loudly. "Look at the alien princess and her pet human." Ethan froze, his face turning red. But Lyra's expression did not change, her glowing eyes fixed on Derek, calm but sharp. You are angry because your pride was hurt, she said softly. That is unwise. Her words cut sharper than any insult. The hallway grew quiet. Students gathering to watch. Derek stepped closer, his voice low. You think you're better than us? This is our school. Lyra tilted her head, her crystal eyes glowing brighter for just a second. This school belongs to knowledge, she said. Not to you. For a moment, Derek felt something press against his chest. Not a hand, not a push, but a weight. He stumbled back slightly, his eyes wide. Lyra blinked, and the glow faded. No one else seemed to notice what had happened. But Ethan did. His heart pounded as he realized. Lyra had power, more than she was showing. The crowd slowly broke apart as Derek muttered curses and walked away with his friends. Ethan turned to Lyra, his voice barely a whisper. What did you just do? Lyra looked at him calmly. Nothing, she said. Nothing you are ready to understand. But deep inside, she knew she had made a mistake. Her father had warned her not to use her abilities, yet the human boy had pushed too far, and worse, she could feel eyes watching her again. From the end of the hallway, the man in the dark coat stood silently, observing, speaking into his communicator once more. She is stronger than expected, he whispered. We must act soon. Lyra turned her head slightly, sensing danger. Her mission had only just begun, but already the shadows were closing in. The next morning, Northbridge High seemed louder than usual. Students filled the halls with whispers and rumors. Everyone talked about the alien girl who had silenced Derek, the loudest boy in school. Some admired her, some feared her, but none ignored her. Lyra walked through the halls with calm steps, her crystal eyes scanning the humans around her. She did not show emotion, but deep inside, she felt the weight of many eyes watching. She was trained to handle fear and suspicion, but she had never lived among humans so closely. Every smile, every laugh, every frown, they all felt different from what she had known on her world. Her first challenge came during lunch. She sat with Ethan again, and this time a few curious students joined. They tried asking simple questions. What food do you eat? On your planet? Do you have sports? Do you even sleep? Lyra answered politely, but carefully. Her father had warned her never to reveal too much, so she spoke only in half-truths. Yes, we eat, but our food is different. Yes, we sleep, but our dreams are not like yours. As the questions grew, Lyra felt something shift. One boy pulled her container of alien food closer, trying to peek inside. Hey, what's this stuff? It smells weird, he said loudly. Students leaned closer, laughing, curious. Lyra's hand shot out, faster than human eyes could follow. She grabbed the container back with sudden force, her eyes flashing. Do not touch what is not yours, she said firmly. The laughter stopped. Silence spread across the table. Ethan touched her arm gently, whispering, It's okay. They didn't mean harm. Lyra lowered her gaze, realizing she had shown too much emotion. Her hands trembled for a second, before she hid them under the table. Later that day, a different problem arose in class. The teacher handed out math problems. Simple by Lyra's standards, she solved them quickly. But when the teacher asked her to explain, her answer confused everyone. She spoke of higher patterns and invisible connections between numbers. The students stared at her as though she was speaking another language. Mrs. Reynolds smiled politely but interrupted. Thank you, Lyra, but let's try the human method. For now, Lyra sat down quietly, realizing her knowledge could make her even more alien in their eyes. That night, Lyra sat in her small room provided by the government. The city lights blinked outside the window. She held a small device in her hands, a communicator hidden from human eyes. It glowed faintly with alien script. A message appeared. Unit 7, remain unseen. Protect the mission. Enemies are watching. Lyra's heart tightened. She knew her father had enemies, alien factions who wanted to break peace between Earth and the Union. But now she realized they were watching her, even here, inside a human school. The next day brought new trials during Gym class, the students were asked to run laps. Lyra joined, but her body was faster, stronger than human limits. At first, she tried to hold back, but her instincts pushed her forward. Soon, she was far ahead, her movements smooth, almost too perfect. The students gasped, some impressed, others unsettled. Did you see that? She's not even breathing hard. She's like a machine. Lyra slowed down, forcing herself to stumble slightly, pretending to be tired. But she knew the damage was done once again. She had stood out in the locker room after class. She heard voices behind her. Two girls whispered, thinking she could not hear. She's scary. What if she hurts someone? Lyra looked at her reflection in the mirror, her glowing eyes staring back. For the first time, she wondered, could she ever truly belong here? Later in the library, Ethan found her sitting alone, a book open but unread in her hands. "You're quiet today," he said softly, sitting beside her. Lyra did not look at him at first. "Your people fear me," she said, her voice calm but heavy. Ethan frowned. "Not all of us, they just don't understand yet." Lyra finally looked at him. "Do you?" she asked. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I want to." For a moment, her eyes softened, but before she could reply, a shadow moved outside the library window. She felt it instantly. Someone was watching. Again, that night, her communicator glowed once more. Another message appeared. "They are closer than expected. Be ready." Lyra stood by the window, her hands clenched. She looked at the human city below, its lights glowing like stars. She wanted to protect this place, but already she felt the walls closing in. Her mission was not just to study or to learn, it was to survive, and to keep the humans safe from dangers they did not yet see. But could she do that while pretending to be just another student? Could she hide her powers, her knowledge, her fears, and still live among them? She did not know the answer, but she knew the challenges had only just begun. Asterisk. The days passed slowly, but tension inside Northbridge High was rising. Lyra, the daughter of the alien ambassador, tried to blend in, but no matter how quietly she moved or how softly she spoke, she could not escape the weight of human eyes. Some students were curious, some whispered with awe, but others carried something darker, fear mixed with jealousy. Derek, the boy she had embarrassed in class, became her greatest problem. He could not forget how she had silenced him with her calm words and strange power. Every time he saw her, his anger grew. To him, Lyra was not a guest. She was an invader, a threat to his pride. One afternoon, during lunch, Derek and his friends sat across the cafeteria, whispering together. They kept glancing at Lyra, who was sitting quietly with Ethan, reading from a book. Ethan noticed and frowned. "Don't mind them," he whispered. But Lyra's glowing eyes flickered for just a second, as if she already knew what was coming. When the lunch period ended, students spilled into the courtyard. The sun was bright, but the atmosphere felt heavy. Lyra walked toward her next class when suddenly Derek stepped in front of her, his two friends flanking him. "Well, look who it is," Derek said loudly, drawing attention. "The alien princess herself." A crowd began to form, curious students gathering quickly. Lyra stopped, her face calm, her voice even. "Step aside," she said. But Derek smirked, refusing to move. "You think you're better than us, don't you?" he sneered. "Walking around with your glowing eyes, acting all mysterious. This is our school, not yours." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. "I did not come to compete," she said. "I came to learn, but you blocked my path with your anger, not your strength." The words cut him, and Derek's face turned red. The crowd whispered, some laughing softly, others waiting for a fight. Ethan pushed forward, standing between them. "Leave her alone, Derek. She hasn't done anything to you." But Derek shoved him aside roughly. "Stay out of this, hero boy. We're just teaching her how things work here." One of Derek's friends reached out and grabbed Lyra's bag, yanking it from her shoulder. The contents spilled onto the ground. Human notebooks, a small communicator hidden among them. Gasps echoed as the strange device glowed faintly, symbols flickering across its surface. "What the hell is this?" the boy shouted, picking it up. Lyra's calm expression broke for the first time. "Give that back," she said sharply, stepping forward. The boy held it higher, grinning. "Why? Afraid we'll see your alien secrets?" The crowd grew louder. Phones lifted to record. Ethan scrambled to pick up Lyra's fallen notebooks, panic in his eyes. "Stop, don't mess with that," he cried, but Derek only laughed. "What's the matter, alien? Without your toys, are you powerless?" Lyra's crystal eyes flared suddenly, glowing brighter than before. Her voice deepened with controlled fury. "I said, give it back." For a moment, the air around them shifted. A low hum vibrated through the courtyard and the communicator. In Derek's friend's hand grew hot. He yelped in pain, dropping it onto the ground. The device pulsed once, then went dark. The crowd fell silent. Shock written on every face. Even Derek stumbled back, fear flashing across his eyes. You're dangerous," he stammered. Lyra knelt, picking up the communicator gently, her glowing eyes dimming once more. She looked at Derek, her voice calm again but heavy with warning. "Danger does not come from me. It comes from those who seek to break peace. But if you provoke me again, you may learn the difference." The crowd whispered louder now, half in fear, half in awe. "She burned it without touching it. Did you see her eyes? She's not normal. She's something else." Ethan quickly took Lyra's arm, pulling her away before things grew worse. They walked fast down the hall, leaving the crowd buzzing behind them. When they were finally alone, Ethan turned to her, his voice shaking. "Lyra, what was that? You could have hurt someone." Lyra looked down at the communicator in her hand, her voice quiet. "I did not mean to reveal my power, but they forced me." She lifted her gaze to Ethan, her eyes softer now. "You must understand, Ethan. I am not only a student here, I am also a target." That night, Lyra sat alone in her room, replaying the scene in her mind. She knew word of her outburst would spread quickly. She had shown too much, revealed a glimpse of her true nature. Her father's warning echoed in her thoughts. "Blend in, my daughter. Do not let them see your strength. The humans are not ready." Her communicator activated again, glowing softly. Another encrypted message appeared. "They test your limits. Do not break cover. Danger is closer than before." Lyra clenched her fist around the device, her heart heavy. She wanted to trust these humans, but every day grew harder, and now, the shadows outside her window seemed darker, for somewhere beyond the school walls, enemies were waiting, and the first strike was yet to come. The morning after the courtyard incident, whispers spread across Northbridge High like wildfire. Some students spoke with excitement, others with fear, but all of them shared the same thought: Lyra was not like them. She had powers, and she had shown them, even if just for a moment. Ethan noticed the change instantly. Wherever Lyra walked, students moved aside more quickly, their eyes filled with caution. Some stared with wonder, but many avoided her completely. Lyra, however, carried herself with the same calm grace as always, though deep inside, her mind was troubled. At home that night, she sat by the glowing communicator in her room. It pulsed with an urgent light, carrying a message from her father, the alien ambassador. "Daughter," the voice said in her language, deep and resonant, "I have received reports of your incident. You must be more careful, but I must also tell you the truth. You are not at the school only to study your presence. There's part of a larger mission." Lyra listened silently, her eyes narrowing. She had suspected something more, but now the truth came clear. Her father continued. "There are factions, dangerous ones, who do not want peace between humans and our kind. They seek to disrupt the relationship between Earth and the Galactic Union. They may try to reach you, use you, or even harm you. You must remain strong. And you must not fail. The future of two worlds may depend on what you do." The communicator dimmed, and silence filled her room. Lyra placed her hand on the device, her thoughts racing. She had trained her whole life for duty, but she had not expected to face it inside the walls of a human school. The next day, Lyra sat in class, but her mind was elsewhere. She scanned the students with careful eyes, wondering who among them could be a threat. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Every move she made, every word she spoke, carried more meaning than the others could ever guess. During lunch, Ethan noticed her silence. "You're even quieter than usual today," he said softly. Lyra looked at him, debating whether to share the truth. Finally, she whispered, "Ethan, you must promise me something. If danger comes, you will stay away." "You cannot be part of what is coming," Ethan frowned. "What are you talking about? What danger?" Lyra's glowing eyes softened for a moment, but she said no more. "I cannot explain now, but I must protect this place, even if it costs me everything." Ethan wanted to ask more, but before he could, a loud crash echoed across the cafeteria. Students gasped as one of the windows shattered. A strange drone-like machine hovering outside, its metal wings buzzing. The drone's red sensor locked directly onto Lyra. Gasps spread across the room. "Is that thing here for her? What is happening?" Without hesitation, Lyra stood, her eyes glowing faintly. She raised her hand, and the drone froze mid-air, its wings straining against an unseen force. The students stared in awe as the machine twisted violently, sparks flying before dropping to the ground in pieces. The room went silent, every pair of eyes locked on her. Lyra exhaled slowly, her glow fading. She turned to the frightened students, her voice steady but calm. "You are safe. The danger has passed for now." Ethan looked at her in shock. "Lyra, what was that?" She met his gaze, her voice low so only he could hear. "That was a warning. They know where I am, and they will come again." The school was thrown into chaos, teachers rushing in, students panicking, security arriving. But Lyra stood still, her eyes fixed on the broken remains of the drone. She knew what it meant. Her enemies had found her sooner than expected. That night, her communicator glowed again, carrying another message from her father. "You have been discovered, my daughter. The hostile faction is near. Your mission now is more dangerous, but also more important. You must prove to the humans that peace is possible. Show them your strength, but also your restraint. Do not let fear turn them against you." Lyra sat in silence, staring out the window at the human city. She saw lights blinking in the distance, cars moving, people living their ordinary lives, and she realized if she failed, it would not only be her own life at risk, it would be theirs too. The next morning, Ethan found her at her locker. He hesitated before speaking. "I don't know what's going on, Lyra, but I know one thing: you don't have to face it alone. I'll stand by you, no matter what." Lyra looked at him, her crystal eyes reflecting the sunlight streaming in from the window. For the first time, she felt a strange warmth spread inside her chest. "You are brave, Ethan," she said softly. "But bravery can be dangerous." As the bell rang and students hurried to class, Lyra felt the shadows around her grow heavier. Her mission was clear now. She was not just a student, not just a daughter, she was a guardian, and the real battle was only beginning. The week after the drone incident felt strange inside Northbridge High. Security guards now stood near the gates, cameras were placed in the halls, and teachers spoke in hushed voices. But none of it erased the fear that had spread among the students. Everyone knew the truth now. Lyra was not just a visitor. She was someone important, someone dangerous, and someone being hunted. Ethan stayed close to her whenever he could, though he felt the weight of other students' eyes on him. "Why do you even sit with her?" one classmate whispered to him. "Aren't you scared?" But Ethan only shook his head. "She's not the danger. The danger is what's coming after her." Lyra remained calm on the outside, walking the halls with quiet dignity, but inside, she felt the pressure building. Her father's warnings repeated in her mind. "They will strike when you least expect it." Every sound, every shadow seemed sharper now. Her senses stayed alert, waiting for the moment when the peace would break. That moment came on a Friday afternoon. The sky above the school was gray. Clouds heavy, the air thick with tension. Students packed the gymnasium for a school assembly, the voices of hundreds echoing in the wide hall. Lyra sat near the back, Ethan beside her, but her eyes never stopped scanning the doors and windows. She felt that something was wrong. Then it happened. The gym doors slammed open, and figures in black armor stormed inside. Their helmets glowed faint red, weapons humming with strange alien energy. Gasps filled the room, screams followed. Teachers shouted for the students to get down, but chaos had already broken loose. Ethan grabbed Lyra's arm. "We have to run." But Lyra shook her head, her crystal eyes glowing brighter than ever. "They came for me," she whispered. "I cannot run." The armored intruders spread across the gym, their leader raising a weapon. "By order of the coalition," his voice echoed through a translator. "The daughter of Ambassador Kalen belongs to us. Hand her over, and no one else will suffer." The students froze, all eyes turning toward Lyra. Fear spread like fire. If she stayed, they would all be in danger. If she left, she would be taken by her enemies. Ethan stood quickly, his hands shaking but his voice loud. "You're not taking her." The room gasped at his bravery, but the soldiers only laughed. One raised his weapon toward Ethan, energy crackling at the tip. Before he could fire, Lyra stepped forward, her aura flaring with invisible power. "Leave them out of this," she said firmly, her voice carrying across the gym. "You came for me, then face me." The soldiers hesitated, and in that instant Lyra moved. Her hand rose, and a wave of energy rippled outward. The closest soldier was thrown back against the wall, his weapon shattering. Gasps filled the air, students scrambling for cover. The battle had begun. Ethan ducked behind the bleachers, his eyes wide as he watched Lyra move. She was faster than any human, her steps light but strong, her crystal eyes blazing. She blocked blasts of energy with her bare hands, deflecting them like light on glass. Every movement carried purpose, every strike precise. But the soldiers were many, and their weapons powerful. One blast struck the floor near her, the shockwave throwing students to the ground. Lyra turned, raising both hands, and the energy beam bent mid-air, crashing back into the attacker. The gym shook with the force, windows shattering, alarms blaring. Through the chaos, Ethan crawled closer, shouting over the noise. "Lyra, there are too many. You have to stop." Lyra shook her head, her voice calm even in the storm. "If I stop, they will take me, and then they will come for you all. I must fight." One soldier broke through the smoke and charged directly at Ethan. Lyra saw it instantly. Her eyes narrowing, she dashed forward, faster than the human eye could follow, grabbing the soldier's arm and twisting it with superhuman strength. The weapon clattered to the ground, and with a flick of her hand, she sent him flying across the gym. Ethan stared at her in awe, his heart pounding. She was not just a visitor, not just a daughter. She was a warrior, and for the first time, he understood the true meaning of her presence. The leader of the intruders stepped forward now, his weapon glowing brighter. "You cannot win, girl," he growled. "You are outnumbered, and your powers will not last." Lyra stood tall, her eyes glowing like fire. "I do not fight alone," she said, glancing briefly at Ethan, who nodded. Despite the fear in his chest, with a roar, the leader fired a massive blast, the energy tearing across the gym. Lyra raised both hands, the glow around her body flaring bright. The blast struck her shield of light, shaking the ground, sparks and heat filling the air. For a long moment, it seemed she would break. But then, with a cry, she pushed forward, the blast turning back on the leader, slamming him into the wall. Silence fell, smoke rising, the remaining soldiers retreating quickly through the shattered doors, dragging their fallen leader with them. The gym was left in ruins, walls cracked, glass shattered, students shaken. But they were alive, because of her. Lyra stood in the center, her glow fading slowly, her shoulders heavy with exhaustion. She turned to Ethan, who rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" he asked breathlessly. Lyra nodded weakly. "For now, but this is only the beginning." The students, once filled with fear, now stared at her with something different respect. They had seen her fight not to conquer, but to protect. For the first time, they understood she was not their enemy. She was their defender, outside in the distance. Another shadow watched from the rooftops, a voice crackling through a hidden communicator. "She is stronger than expected. We will need another plan. Asterisk." The gymnasium still smelled of smoke, and broken glass glittered across the floor like fallen stars. Students huddled together in small groups, whispering, their voices filled with fear but also wonder. The attack had ended, but its memory stayed. Heavy in the air, Lyra stood in the center of the ruined hall, her body tired but her eyes still glowing faintly. She looked at the frightened faces around her and saw something new in their expressions: respect, and maybe even trust. They had seen her fight, not as an enemy, but as a protector. Ethan stood close to her, his heart still pounding from the chaos. He turned to the others, shouting, "She saved us. All of us would be gone if it weren't for her." His words carried across the hall, breaking the silence. Slowly, heads nodded, voices rising. "She protected us. She didn't let them take her. She defended the school, but not everyone." "Agreed," one teacher spoke sharply, his face pale. "She brought this danger here. If she hadn't come, none of this would have happened." A few students murmured in agreement, fear still clinging to their hearts. Lyra lowered her gaze, her voice soft. "It is true, the danger follows me, but danger would have come to this world anyway. I am only the first to face it. If I am taken, they will use me against you. But if I stand here, I can fight for both our worlds." Her words were simple, but they carried a weight the humans could not ignore. Ethan stepped beside her, his voice strong. "She doesn't have to fight alone. If she stands with us, then we should stand with her." The students looked at each other, uncertain, but slowly courage grew. One girl spoke up. "She's right. She could have left us, but she didn't. She risked herself to save us." Another added, "If she's willing to fight for us, then maybe we should trust her." The principal entered the ruined gym, her face filled with shock at the destruction. She looked at Lyra for a long moment, then finally said, "You have put us in danger, but you have also protected us. Perhaps this is not just a school anymore. It is the place where two worlds meet." That night, Lyra sat in her room, the communicator glowing softly in her hands. Her father's voice came through, deep and steady. "You have done well, my daughter. Reports of the attack have spread, but so has news of your defense. Humans now see you not as a threat, but as a guardian." Lyra listened silently, her heart heavy but steady. "I did what I had to," she said softly. Her father's voice grew solemn. "This was only the first strike. Your enemies will not stop. But you have shown Earth your true nature. That was the first step toward peace." When the message ended, Lyra walked to the window and looked out. At the city lights, cars moved. People laughed in the streets below. Ordinary lives continuing despite the danger above, for the first time since she arrived. She felt a connection to this place, a bond not of duty alone, but of choice. The next day at school, the atmosphere had changed. Some students still kept their distance, their fear not fully gone, but others smiled at her, small but sincere. Some even said, "Thank you." As she passed in the hall, it was not full acceptance, but it was a beginning. Ethan walked beside her, carrying his books. "You know, yesterday, I thought I was going to die," he said with a nervous laugh. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "Yet you still stood beside me," she replied. Ethan shrugged, smiling. "Someone had to besides. I trust you." Her crystal eyes softened, and for a brief moment, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. Perhaps she was not as alone as she thought. But peace did not last long. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lyra's communicator pulsed again. A new message appeared, short but chilling. This was only the beginning. The real war is coming. Lyra stared at the words, her chest tight. She knew the shadow watching from the rooftops had not given up. The attack at the school was only a test. The true danger was still ahead. Yet as she looked back at the school, behind her, she felt something new, strength born, not from duty, but from connection. She had protected them once, and she would do it again. Not only because it was her mission, but because she wanted to. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Lyra whispered words not from her training, not from her father, but from her own heart. This is my school now, and I will protect it. The night deepened, the city glowing like a sea of stars. The world was changing. And Lyra knew her journey was far from over, but she was ready, because she was no longer just the alien ambassador's daughter. She was part of something greater, a bridge between two worlds, and maybe the key to their survival. Asterisk.